Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for episode 11 of our series of candidates and conversations leading up to the 2020 general election on November 3rd. Tonight's event is honored to be hosted by the UC Merced Community Engagement Center and the Office of Government and Community Relations. My name is Jesse Espinoza, and as a fourth-year student majoring in political science, I am excited to be moderating the discussion this evening. During this series, as we sit behind our computer screens, hearing from the candidates that hope to build our community's future, it's clear that we are in unprecedented times. Due to the pandemic, we can't gather to engage in a healthy debate and discussion like we normally would. So we felt it was really important that we find a way for members of our community here at UC Merced, including our students, faculty, and staff, to engage with the candidates running to represent them. But this virtual format also makes it easier for the UC Merced community to invite our friends and neighbors to join us in the discussion from the comfort of their home and without having to deal with campus parking. So welcome to all. And please be sure to let your local family, friends, and neighbors know that they are welcome to join us for the upcoming sessions if they miss this one. Additionally, please be sure to remember to register to vote or make sure that you already registered by visiting registertovote.ca.gov. Again, that's registertovote.ca.gov. Before we get started, I'd like to pause and acknowledge all local indigenous peoples, including the Yokuts and the Miwok, who inhabited this land, and thank them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and collaborate on their traditional homeland. Let us now take a moment of gratitude to pay respect to their elders and to all Yokuts and Miwok people, past and present. Thank you. Now let's go over a few housekeeping items. First, all participants are muted upon entry. We encourage you to use the speaker view instead of gallery view. We will start with some pre-selected questions for the candidate. Participants can type questions into the chat at any time, and we will get to as many as we can during our allotted time. If you would like to ask your question live, please use the raise hand function or let us know in the chat, and we will unmute you to do so. Again, we will get to as many as we can during our allotted segment. Reminder that this is meant to be a conversation and an opportunity to get to know the candidate, so please keep it respectful and on topic. So without further ado, let's get started. Tonight, we have the opportunity to hear from Joel Knox, candidate for Merced City Council District 1. Mr. Knox, thank you for joining us. Let's get started with the basics.
You're welcome.
First, please, Mr. Knox, tell us a little bit about your background and why you decided to run for City Council.
All right. Well, first of all, again, my name is Joel Knox. I was born here in Merced back in 1957. I grew up over by Merced High School. I attended elementary schools in Merced, went to Tenaya Middle School in the first year of integration, graduated from Merced High, Merced College, went to Chico State. I got a BA in political science, teaching credentials in government, learning handicap, special ed, and severely handicapped special ed. I moved back to Merced to take care of my dad, who was also an educator, and help my mom take care of him. He begins showing symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. And I moved over to my current location, my current residence, which is over by Golden Valley High School. I've lived here for 35 years, which is in District 1. When I first moved here, all we had were a few little corner grocery stores, gas station. We didn't get a McDonald's for quite a while. And so around 1990, we had the city decide that they wanted to take and do some development in the area. They wanted to build a number of apartment complexes, a pretty large number, 400, more than we felt the neighborhood was prepared for. This was an area that had no grocery store, no pharmacy, no other amenities whatsoever. And so we started an association, a neighborhood association that's in 2001, that's still in existence today, called the Golden Valley Neighborhood Association. I became the chair. And our mission has basically been to make sure that the residents of this area are recognized by the leadership of the city of Merced, whether it be the staff or the city council. During the 20 years that I've been chair, we've seen a lot of change in Merced. Initially, the city council was made up of individuals that were elected at large. As a result, we were very much neglected over in this area. I think has been the habit with Merced as far as I can remember. Merced has an area, they build it up and then they move on. And then they have a tendency to forget about the areas that they're not currently working on. And that was one of the things that we saw in our area, and we worked to take and improve. During the time that we were working with the city on getting some mitigating factors for the apartments, we were able to convince them that Merced, that Southeast Merced did in fact have the requisite number of individuals that a supermarket would want in order to be established. And we were very successful and very happy that we were able to get Rancho San Miguel and the CVS pharmacy and some of the other things that we have over here. South Merced, Southeast Merced still has a number of problems that the city leaders don't recognize and don't acknowledge unless it's brought to their attention. And one of those things that disturbs our association, myself and the residents over here in this area, is that when you listen to our city leaders talk about any type of retail or improvements that are going to be proposed in our area of the city, you hear from city council members and the staff, well, how's that going to affect downtown Merced? How's that going to affect the Merced Mall? To date, and this is 20 years, I have not heard anybody on the city council or in the actual staff of Merced ask, well, how is that going to affect the Golden Valley neighborhood? Or how is that going to affect the southern part of Merced? So our association, our goals are basically the same as mine. I'm a retired school teacher. I taught at Sheehy School for 35 years, which is in South Merced. I've had the opportunity to interact with individuals that live on this side of town, not only in the side of town, the southeast, but the southwest side of town. As a retired teacher, I had the opportunity to participate in a lot of activities with the students and their families, where I had I've seen the needs of the area. I would like to take and see, and I've advocated for amenities to our district, such as new business, public safety, recreation. We want to see the infrastructure improved here. We want to address the problematic matters such as housing, the homeless, which we have more than our fair share of over here. And we also want to make sure that our schools are constantly improved and kept up to date.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Knox, and letting us get to know you a little bit better. I appreciate your stance on making sure that everyone's needs are kind of included in the conversation. And to follow off on that, we have a topic kind of on that topic, or a question kind of on that topic. So a walk down Merced Main Street in the year 2020 will show you a revitalization boom. Historic theaters have gone new facelifts, new bars, restaurants, and businesses have opened. Pre-COVID, Merced experienced the highest personal income growth of any metro area in the country for the past 5 years. This Central Valley city was beginning to look like a place of prosperity. However, still at least 1 in every 3 babies and toddlers in our city lives in poverty even pre-COVID, and that number has likely only been exacerbated. Merced's surely a city on the rise, but some citizens are getting left on the ground. What are some steps you'd like to take to get us back on track and make sure that prosperity is shared evenly amongst all Mercedians?
Well, opportunities, I think are the goal for any city that wants to prosper, and that those opportunities can be in the way of education, training, to allow those individuals that want to take and better themselves, want to take and get a better job, a higher paying job, want to be able to better take care of their families, and that um, give them that opportunity to do so. The other thing is we need to take and do a better job of attracting business to Merced. The permitting process in the city of Merced has is still very cumbersome and costly. To give you an idea, the Gateway project that we've been working with the developer, Mr. Pline, began in 2005. And the city of Merced, when told by Mr. Pline and other developers out there that they had national interest in retail in that area, were told that that was not in the plans for the city, that we had enough retail. And thank goodness Mr. Pline, endured. But the permitting process that he's had to go through, and he's, like I said, we walked through a lot of it with him, is again, uh, the amount of time that it takes to get a business or a development approved in Merced has gotten a lot better, but it still takes a lot of time. And those those businesses, those are jobs. Um, you know, uh, like we were talking about, a lot of individuals may not want full-time jobs. They may want part-time jobs, particularly university students. So we need to attract development that is suited for the area uh, that the business is applying for. And we need to sell ourselves, I guess, is the best way to take and do that. And again, we have a lot of educational opportunities. UC Merced, I think, is a real factor in terms of bringing in, affording individuals the opportunity to develop their skills, their knowledge, and to take and better prepare themselves for the job market that will hopefully materialize in Merced. If I could just say something real quick too, born and raised here in Merced, I can tell you, prior to the closing of Castle Air Force Base, which many of you, have probably heard existed, Merced was an extremely prosperous, vibrant city. Downtown Merced was just an exciting place to be in, and I'm very hopeful that once this COVID virus gets under control, that we will once again be on the road to prosperity.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Knox. Kind of a related topic to that. UC Merced's 2019-2020 enrollment sat at just under 10,000 students. This growing student base has caused a surge in the number of residents within the county. The California Department of Finance reported that the county is the fastest growing in the state, showing that more than 4,000 people moved into Merced County last year. This has led to Merced's notoriously low vacancy rate of 1%. However, in some cases, in an effort to create additional housing, like in the case of the Tioga, older housing units are being renovated to attract individuals with higher incomes, such as professors and staff. As a city council member, would you promote the development of affordable housing units? And if you would, how do you ensure that the homes built don't just remove affordable housing from those with lower incomes?
Well, once again, affordable housing has been an issue in Merced for quite a while. We have to have better planning than we currently have. We have to make sure that not only do we have the housing, but as I said was the case in Southeast Merced and is currently still the case in South Merced, we need to make sure we provide the amenities that those neighborhoods and those residents need to exist. Merced has also been notorious for traffic congestion. The G Street underpass has significantly helped improve things, but part of the reason is the Merced master plan has communities are supposed to be built with a commercial hub, a retail hub. And if you look at most communities that are larger communities than that around the area, outside of Merced, that's what they do. They start with the retail hub, and then the housing builds out from there. Merced is doing a pretty good job on North Merced, but over in South Merced, Southeast Merced, that's not happening. And the city says, well, it's infill, and for quite a while it was. Currently, though, South Merced is building out. We're building out towards El Nido, and one of the things that I think that if I'm on the council that I would be pushing for is to have the type of development that happens in North Merced, making sure that the amenities and that are in place for the residents prior to them living there is something that we need to look at. As far as making sure that there's affordable housing, we need to make sure that the affordable housing is just not located in one area of the city. One of the things that was way back in 2000 when the Grove Apartments, which are the affordable housing that we have built apartment complex, rent control apartments that we have in our area, we were told that there would be other areas of the city that also would be seeing these types of development. To date, this is again since 2001, there have been 3 additional affordable housing units, multi-family units built in Merced. They've all been on the south side. There's been nothing whatsoever on the north side.
Thank you for that perspective. Don't forget for everyone in the chat to please submit your questions and utilize this opportunity to talk to a city council member or potential city council member and get their perspective on the issues that matter to you. Moving on from that, Mr. Knox, as you might know, the UC community is geographically separated a bit of distance away from the core of Merced. One common concern is that this disconnect, it seems to influence between the UC Merced and the Merced community. What solutions do you think might help this bridge this disconnect, both on the UC side of filling a part of the Merced community, but also on the Merced side of welcoming the UC into the Merced community?
Well, I'm all about communication, and one of my biggest complaints, that I've voiced is the lack of communication between the city of Merced and our Merced County Board of Supervisors. And I would hate to see that pattern emerge with the University of Merced. One of the things that has to happen, I believe, is that there needs to be regular scheduled communication, whether it be city council members, mayor, staff, et cetera, come to the university to meet and to talk with the students and the staff to get their perspective, to listen to what their needs are and what they see as issues that need to be addressed. I think that would be a good start. I also, even though I'm not on the council, I'm a very regular attendee at the city council meetings, and I think it's wonderful when we have University of California Merced students show up. Some are there because they have to be for their classes, but it's just really good to see individuals there and that participate, that they aren't afraid to go up to the microphone microphone and give their perspective or give their opinion. And Merced's going to keep growing, and it's obviously growing out towards the university. I also believe that as we recover from this coronavirus, and as you said, downtown Merced and our new gateway businesses that will be along Campus Parkway will afford an opportunity for more interaction with the students as well, and not just have the opportunity to just meet, but to actually go someplace, interact, socialize. But yeah, the UC Merced is going to be a huge part of Merced moving forward. And we need to make sure that their needs and that are not neglected, as my neighborhood was neglected for years over here. That the needs and the concerns of the individuals that are housed and taking classes at UC Merced are given the opportunity to be heard.
Yeah, thank you for that perspective. And kind of as a lifelong resident in Merced who also was going to the UC, I see the potential that it has for our community, and I'm kind of excited for it to be a part of our community going forward. So thank you for that. So Mr. Knox, what kind of projects would you like to see happen on our city council to improve our infrastructure in our city, also including our roads, our parks, as well as our bike and trail system?
Okay, well, let me just start off with one thing that has always really bothered the residents around the south side of Merced. If you look at and of course, some of this is just simply because they're newer areas, but like I said, we have areas being built that are new in South Merced as well. We don't have the park facilities in South Merced that you have in North Merced. We don't have the bike trails. We have the bike lanes, but as anybody that's ridden around on the bike lanes know, you're taking your life in your hands. It's not really a leisurely ride. So, we need to take and really focus on that. Good news, we were recently told that when the Mission Interchange and the Campus Parkway and the overpasses and everything else are completed, and we have the entire Campus Parkway leading up to UC Merced, there will also be a separated bike path that will lead from the university over to what will be the new development on Campus Parkway. So that's really going to help in terms of giving those individuals that not just want to use their bikes for transportation, but for leisure as well. And as far as helping business in that around here develop, like I said, I think one of the big things that we need to really focus on is making it easier for our developers that are interested in building and doing business here in Merced to take and get through that process with as little as possible in terms of what they have to pay out. What has a tendency to happen is developers come, they have their plans, they present it to the council or the city planning committee and that, and then they're told that there are certain corrections that they need to make, certain things that they need to do, and so they come back several months, a year, whatever, come back with those plans already done, and then additional things get added to that, and the process is just really drawn out. So we need to do a better job as a city to take and make our developers comfortable that they're going to get service that is one stop, two stop, not 10, 15 stops before they finally get a development approved and built. We also need to take and hold individuals accountable that have buildings and that get neglected, that don't get taken care of, that are basically just eyesores. And we have a lot of that in downtown Merced. We have a lot of buildings and that are very, very old. They're not well suited necessarily for the type of development the city is looking for in downtown Merced. And as a result, they're just taking up space. So, we need to take and make sure that the owners, I guess is the best way of putting it, of these different locations in downtown Merced and in other business areas are included in the plans as to what they're going to do with them. The other thing that anybody who's been downtown Merced knows is parking is an issue. We need to take a look, in my opinion, at some parking structures. Other things people have brought up too to enhance downtown Merced is possibly making, we called it 17th Street, but it's Main, make it a one-way with vertical parking, as opposed to the way it is today. We need to look at ways that we can enhance the experience downtown and downtown Merced and offer more opportunities.
Thank you for that perspective. We got a question submitted into the chat. It asks, in a previous candidates conversation, some Mercedians have expressed that they are concerned that Merced students are falling behind. If elected, how would you work with the school district to address these concerns? In addition, how do you think your perspective as a retired teacher will help between city and school district?
You froze there on the last part of your sentence.
Oh, I apologize. I'll read the whole thing again. It says,
okay.
Some Mercedians have expressed that they are concerned that Merced students are falling behind. If elected, how would you work with the school districts to address these concerns? In addition, how do you think your perspective as a retired teacher will help you bridge the gap or strengthen the relationship between city and school districts?
So if we're talking falling behind, obviously, as we were talking about prior to our meeting starting, there are a lot of challenges that are taking place with the visual learning. They're not just, as a retired teacher that talks to other retired and current teachers all around California, it's just not something that we're experiencing here in Merced. It's something that's being experienced all in school districts all around California. One of the issues that I think we need to really address and make sure that the city is doing their part to make sure that they're helping the districts and the school districts as much as, in many ways as possible, is the internet connections. A lot of individuals in a lot of different areas of Merced have a very difficult time with their internet connections. And part of the issue is that some of the providers have not updated their equipment. They haven't updated the stuff that's below the roads and that in 40 or 50 years. I know when I was a teacher over at Sheehy School, even in the classrooms when we were using the kids were using their computers back then, as well as went to the tablets and the Chromebooks and that now. There was an issue with connectivity. So we need to make sure that our internet, our Wi-Fi, etc., is the best that it can be for individuals in all areas of the city. We don't need to have individuals on the north side of Merced, having high-speed internet, and those on the south side having with the equivalent of dial-up. I think one of the advantages that I would bring as a teacher, I know issues that exist in the schools. I know I know the ways that the city schools and the city have to interact in order to be successful in terms of facilities, in terms of you know safety around the schools, um, and so as an educator who also has a background in government and that, I think I can connect well with both the uh, school administration, school boards, city council, and the city staff.
Thank you for that answer. And for the next question, you already touched on it a little bit before, but one common concern in the community is about the lack of coordination between county officials and city officials that you mentioned before. I would ask, do you think that concern is fair? And if so, what would you do as a city council member to merge that disconnect?
Well, I think I've been pretty clear about the fact that I do believe that it's one of the major problems that needs to be addressed. At times, it doesn't appear as though our city council and our board of supervisors are not only on different pages, but they're not even reading the same book. Um, Again, it comes back to the same thing when we talked about with the university. There needs to be regularly scheduled communication that needs to take place between the board of supervisors and the city council, the city staff, and the county staff. There needs to be understandings between the two, what the goals of each agency is, or each entity is, and the needs. I think the situation that we're dealing with the homeless is probably one of the best examples. A lot of people wonder why the city isn't doing more with to address the homeless situation, and in essence, the responsibility of addressing the homeless situation, why you would think would fall on the city of Merced, it doesn't. The county is the one that has the resources for that. And so what has to happen is more direction, in my opinion, needs to be given from the city. More demands need to be made of the county to address the homeless situation in ways that are acceptable to the community.
Thank you for that answer. And I mean, you just touched on it right there. So just expand off it. But so according to a group of homelessness service providers and advocates, the Merced County Continuum of Care, there were over 600 homeless individuals living within Merced County in 2019. This is an increase of 93 people from just the year prior. Understanding that this is a huge issue with lots of organizations, including the county, putting effort into it, in your view, what is the city council's role to address the homeless issue?
Well, again, like I said, the primary role of the city council is to take and communicate with the county, with the state, and to make sure that the needs of this community are being met. A lot of that will be looking for resources, not necessarily just monetary resources, but it could be assistance in developing programs, the expertise that we might be able to get from specialists. Also take and, currently we have the navigation center that is going up in South Merced, which I think is going to be very good in terms of a transitional area for some of our homeless, but it's just not anywhere near the need it doesn't meet the need that we have. I spoke to the Merced Sun Star here last week, and one of the things that one of my frustrations is the county seems to be moving in inches when we need to be moving in feet and yards. if things aren't working or they're not moving things along fast enough, then it's the city's responsibility to say, you know what, you gave it your best shot at this, but we need to change. We need to try something else. This is what we would suggest. This is what we would like to do. And I think the end result would be, rather than continue the same thing with the slow progress that we're having, if we institute a variety of things, evaluate them as we go, then perhaps we can make a little more progress. It doesn't, as you said, it seems the problem seems to be getting worse, not better. Um, the I know the residents of Merced are very frustrated, at least the ones that live in my area, with what they see as the lack of progress on the part of the state, the county, and the city.
Thank you for that, Mr. Knox. We got a question submitted into the chat. It asks, how do you connect with residents who feel they have been left out for a long time now?
Okay. If I understand your question, that's exactly why our neighborhood association was started 20 years ago. Is we felt as though the city, and I'm assuming that's what they're saying, the city has forgotten about them. You know, one of the things that needs to happen is areas such as South Merced, Southeast Merced, need to have venues. They need to have individuals and organizations that allow them the opportunity to become involved again, to make their needs known to the city leaders, to take and have an opportunity to participate. And, you know, I would like to see more of that happen if elected as the city councilman. For my area, I would certainly try to take and involve other areas of the District 1 with associations such as we have as the Golden Valley Neighborhood Association, to make voices that are just individuals become group voices. Have I understood the question?
Yeah, that was perfect. I think that was
Okay.
exactly the spirit of the question. So I got one more question on here. If anyone wants to submit one in the chat, feel free to do so. Mr. Knox, what do you think are some steps that we must take on as a city council to work towards a better sense of public safety?
Well, you know, when you talk about public safety, you know, it encompasses a lot of different areas. We're talking about, you know, the things that occur in the individual neighborhoods. We're talking about things that occur with the city, perhaps the police department, and that as a whole. Again, I think, you know, the thing that constantly comes up with the city police would probably pertain to the whole city and be successful. I think we need to have more transparency, more accountability, and more resources. You know, there are things that we can do that enhance public safety. Lighting is one of them. I've talked to individuals that do business on Yosemite Parkway, which has some areas where there are criminal activity in that takes place, as well as also are the same areas where we've had numerous individuals that have been hit or almost hit by vehicles when they're crossing the street and that. And those could be resolved with more lighting. A while back, the city took and, at least in some areas that I'm aware of, took and looked for light bulbs and that would take and uh, supposedly give the same amount of output for a lesser amount of money. Um, but in my experience, we're not getting the lighting in terms of the brightness that we need to have. Um, some of the other things, I think, the neighborhood watches, I think are really helpful. It helps neighbors get to know one another, and also be active in looking out for their neighborhood and their neighbors. Um, I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head, so let's just stop there.
That's perfect. Thank you for that, Mr. Knox, and thank you for handling kind of our barrage of questions throughout the night.
Mhm.
Before we end the conversation, we like to give the candidate a minute or so for any closing remarks. So, Mr. Knox, what would you like our audience members to really remember about you tonight?
Well, the thing that I have emphasized in my campaign is I want to see action, not just the talk that we get out of our elected officials in Merced. Um, we've had a number of items that anybody following the city council knows have been on the burner. It doesn't seem that a lot appears to be getting cooked. Um, I would be one of the individuals that would be pushing for things that come to fruition when they start. Uh, and that the council has to address. I would be an individual that would push to have them conclude. And I am also an individual that's very, very sensitive and open to the community. I am very easily approachable. I am somebody that would readily sit down and talk with any individual that has concerns or ideas, or even especially if they want to share experiences and positive things that are happening in Merced. I'm an individual that's wants to see our economy grow. I'm an individual that wants to see the quality of life in Merced improve. I want to see us over in North Merced and other areas of Merced getting an equal amount of resources. I don't want to see resources devoted to one area, attention devoted to one area, and have other areas left out.
Well, thank you, Mr. Knox, for those answers and your perspective. Thank you for participating and letting us all get to know you a little bit better. To all of our participants, please, please, please make sure that you're registered to vote by visiting registertovote.ca.gov. One more time, that's registertovote.ca.gov. Join us for our upcoming candidates in conversation. Our next one will be Wednesday, October 21st, with Jesse Ornelas, candidate for District 1 of Merced City Council. Please visit events.ucmerced.edu for our future dates and candidates. Thank you all again, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Mr. Knox, for participating.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.